with Jolie virtually.
Okay.
And then hopefully Jack will patch back in.
Okay, let's call a special meeting to order, and we have an agenda. It's very short. Does someone want to give me a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Would someone second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right.
Hey, Diane, could you please bring that down to people that are online? I'll just make sure that you've got green light on your microphone.
Yes.
Yes, we do.
And then just remind Jolie that when it comes to voting, she might have to unmute herself.
Okay. We are here to hear case number 643. It's a COA requested by Carter Edmondson to demolish the existing building and build a new building at 1410 Madison Avenue. Do we have someone who would like to, Kate, would you like to give some history?
Yes. And then Jonathan Madison here.
Yes. I saw Jonathan.
Yeah. Okay, so we're discussing case number 643 regarding 1410 Madison Avenue. The applicant requests approval to demolish the existing house and build a new building. The Historic Resource Inventory Survey for the building describes it as a one-story, 3-bay brick veneer bungalow with craftsman influence built circa 1925, with a 2 1/2 story rear addition in circa 1995. The potential demolition of this house was reviewed on a complimentary basis at the February meeting of this commission. A case regarding this property and its demolition was heard at the June meeting of the commission. The applicant, Carter Edmondson, wished to buy the property from the Freimarks, demolish the building, and build a new single-family home on the existing lot. After much discussion by the commission, the request to demolish that building was denied. The applicant returned to the commission at the July meeting to discuss that denial and potential changes to the proposed design for the new construction, and receive feedback from the commission on that design. So today, the commission must first discuss and vote on the demolition of the existing building. If it's approved, that decision is contingent on the approval of new plans being approved for the lot. When considering the demolition of a landmark or resource within a residentially zoned district, the commission must consider the following. The commission shall consider the individual, architectural, cultural, and/or historical significance of the resource. The commission shall consider the importance or contribution of the resource to the architectural character of the district. The commission shall consider the importance or contribution of the resource to neighboring property values, and the commission shall consider the difficulty or impossibility to reproducing such a resource because of its texture, design, material, or detail. And I think I failed to mention that the property is listed as non-contributing in the historic district. Regarding the plans for new construction, the applicant proposes a new residence with a front 1-story portion that steps up to 2-story at the rear 1/3 footprint of the building. The 2-story portion of the house will not be conspicuous from the street, unlike the current addition. The commission must consider several factors when approving new construction in the historic district. The Oxford Design Guidelines dictate that new construction should respect and enhance the visual character of the district through compatibility in location, design, and materials without exactly duplicating existing buildings. The proposed house features craftsman-style detailing, most prominently in the front porch gable and in the use of exposed rafters. The front gable entry porch recalls the existing front entry and that of several neighboring buildings on the street. And that was a design change that was made after discussion at the meeting in July. That was something that I think the commission was hopeful for, that the applicant took that note. The building is oriented appropriately with its primary entrance on Madison Avenue. The house also appears to be appropriately scaled, and the proposed materials are appropriate within the context of the historic district. While the guidelines recommend against painting historic masonry, the commission has consistently approved painted brick for new construction, which this project would be. Should the commission find the demolition of the existing structure appropriate, staff recommends approval of the new design. And I will note, I'm not sure if all of you had a chance to see it, but I forwarded you, I believe there's 6 letters from neighbors in support of this application. So, and those will be added to the public record as well. So Jonathan, would you like to come up? Does anyone have questions about the staff report? Okay.
No.
Jack should be joining any second. I don't care if it's John.
Hello, Jack.
Do you think he's there?
It's Jack. I'm back. Can you hear me?
We can hear you now, thank you.
I'm traveling back roads of Maine. I'm sorry.
Okay, Jack, you're getting ready to hear from Jonathan Maddox, who's making a presentation. So go ahead, Jonathan.
Thank you. I appreciate your time doing this today. We were all here last night. For many of us, this has been an ongoing conversation, except for Aaron and Luke. Welcome to the commission. We've had a lot of conversations about the history of this house. We've heard from the building official. We heard from the neighbor, who is the brother of the former property owner. We've looked at pictures of the condition of the existing house. We've talked about the fact that the house was marked as non-contributing 20 years ago when the surveys were done. And even at that time, the survey also goes on to say that the property is only in fair condition. So 20-something years later, it's even worse than it was when it was marked as fair. We've had a lot of conversations about this, and we really feel that the sum of all those conversations is that this house, it's appropriate for it to be demolished and for something else to be put back in its place that's more appropriately scaled and cared for this neighborhood going forward. Jumping ahead of, I guess, our first question about demolition, I just want to say we've really tried to take to heart all of the comments and the considerations of what the new house will look like. We leaned into the craftsman style, which the house was before. We have tried to give a gabled entry like all the other houses have. It is, a slightly different scale. We do want to have a larger two-story addition in the back. But as we've also talked about, we feel that's very appropriate in this location, in this neighborhood, because everything to the west of this house and north is much larger. And only the houses that are along the east side, the south side to the east of Madison are the only ones that are smaller. So we are the line. And so we feel like kind of bridging between those two things is appropriate. I think if we were to look at the 5 questions about demolition, we couldn't really argue that any of those were something that we couldn't satisfy for a requirement of demolition. So do we stop there until we've voted on that question? So,
Well, as that question applies to going back to our demolition, the new facade is perfect to me. I mean, it works totally. It looks correct. It just does to me. Just wanted to know that.
Well, I'd like to commend you because I think you took all the comments that we had shared with you over the months and put it into something that is really easy for us to accept in this area. So I do want to compliment you on that.
thank you.
Same here. I mean, I love that you have the context of the neighborhood with the arched, the craftsman style homes, and I think this new design fits beautifully.
I know you would really like to see a true arch there, but in a craftsman style, the arch isn't quite appropriate. So we have that, illusion of the arch with something that is appropriate in the craftsman detail.
I think it's much better than the more formal, that window that you had that seemed to I like it.
I think it's an excellent new design.
Does anyone have anything they would like to contribute on this, or do we have anyone in the audience that would like to say anything about the proposed demolition of this project? Everybody okay with this if we proceed?
I would like to note, Diane, that I did read the criteria for demolition into the record.
Yes.
Just so that we have that.
Those are the A through D that you listed. Let's go over them one by one. The commission shall consider the individual architectural, cultural, and/or historical significance of the source. I think it's been duly noted that this is a non-contributing, and therefore A does not apply. The commission shall consider the importance or contribution of the resource of the architectural character of the district. I think we have done that, and I think we realize that it does not need to exist. The commission shall consider the importance or contribution of the resource to neighboring property values. I think the way it exists now, it has no significant importance. The commission shall consider the difficulty or impossibility to reproduce such a resource because of its texture, design, materials, or detail. And I don't think that applies as well. Without much delay, does anyone have anything that they would like to add that would be against the demolition of this project? If not, I'll entertain a motion for demolition.
We approved the demolition of the house.
Is that Jack? Yes. It is. Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion one last time? Everyone in favor of the demolition of COA 643 at 1410 Madison Avenue, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Aye.
And anyone opposed? Then the motion stands, and we'll proceed with the plans.
There's probably not a lot more to say about them. I guess I would make one notation for the record. We are showing this as painted brick in this rendering because that gives us the greatest flexibility as we're moving into final design choices. I'm not certain that this house will be painted brick, but I guess if we have the ability to paint it as part of this, then that's covered.
And the other option would be
Unpainted brick, yeah.
Okay. So if you would like to go through with the plans that you are presenting.
As we've said, the house has craftsman-influenced details in exposed rafter tails on the front gable. The way the front porch posts sit on brick bases is also representative of that era without necessarily being copycat of anything. I think also as evidenced by just the way we're looking at the detailing of that front gable. It's not a historic replica, but it's something that attempts to be modern, but express its roots and its relationship to the other houses in the neighborhood. This image we chose, and it's the same image that you saw before for the other design, because it shows you how the back of the house is taller. But there are other images, particularly one that's taken from standing in the street, that one. So this is what people really will see as they're walking down the street. You don't see that second story rear portion unless you're at that skewed angle looking down the driveway. So I think that's very important to take into consideration.
Slightly different than the previous design, correct?
No, it's the same.
Is it?
Yeah, this thing. But it's quite unlike what's there now, which has a huge addition that starts basically right at the ridge of the front cottage and is overbearing even from several blocks away where you can see it. The window patterns are a little bit of a mess, I have to admit, because we kind of pushed through this. The hand drawing better represents really what we intend to do, which is most typically a 3/1 light pattern in the windows with maybe some slight deviation in the picture window there on the left. If you look closely at the renderings in the various views, it's 3/3 in every case, but that was just because of my inability to really make the software do what I was trying to make it do. But this does show that. Another little detail is that's not represented in the 3D model is perhaps a small railing along the front porch. This would be a low and just decorative element. We don't need a railing because we're not very high off the ground, but we think it contributes to the design, and so it would be something very simple like that and appropriate.
So you want any motion to include the windows and railing as proposed in the hand drawing?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that's the best way to,
Great. Okay.
to word it. Otherwise, I think it is all the same things it was before: shingle roof, brick, possibly painted brick. There's some metal roof on the back, and the rest gets into the minutia, I think. Oh, okay.
Jonathan, I just have a question. The house currently sits pretty close to the curb. How far back, if you're adding a circle drive, how far back is the house gonna sit once it's rebuilt?
Well, part of the requirement really in this older part of town is that all the houses align, and so the front line of the front porch and of the front wall of the dining room lines up with where the house is now, which also pretty much lines up with the other houses on the street.
Okay.
We're going forward of that by a little bit, by our little covered entry, but not nearly as far forward as the current front porch does. It's tight to get that circle driveway in there, but this property is very similar in dimension to the Kayat property, which is around the corner that most of you probably know. And they have a little circle driveway, much like this one. Parking is difficult on this street. There is no off-street parking as part of the street. There is some off-street parking that I think is on private property across the street that I believe the condominium owners are generous and sometimes use, but we want to make sure that there's a way for people to come and visit this house we've taken so much effort to have made.
Aaron, you brought up a planning element. The only other planning element that I can see here actually pertains to that circle driveway, and that would be something that we have to get engineering involved in, because I do know that the code actually generally does not allow circle driveways. So this will be something that we'll have to look at from a distance requirement and making sure that those points of ingress and egress actually meet the requirements of the code, and then that's also subject to city engineer's approval.
Yeah, so all those things are handled through zoning, but what I would say, because it's important, and I'm glad you brought it up, is we intend for that to be a brick driveway. And so being brick is under your purview, and so that's what we'd ask for permission to do.
How many square feet are you looking at?
The ground floor footprint is 2,400 square feet of conditioned space. The total house is 30. I have this on a Post-it note on one of my pieces of paper. Is around 3,400 square feet, just under 3,500 square feet.
So at this time, you are not, you can't tell us if you will paint the brick,
That's right.
which is always a touchy thing for us.
Yes. And I think the way Kate worded it is appropriate. Really, most frequently, you have permitted painted brick on new construction. So I think we wouldn't be out of bounds or out of the pattern to ask for that. And I'm only asking for it just so we don't have to come back just for one more conversation. Although I will have to come back. One thing you will notice in the site plan that we have not talked about at all in any other conversation is the garage that's in the back. That is such a minor detail in the grand scheme of things. We hadn't worried about really the shape of that. Well, the shape we know, but the design of that. And so when we get ready to move forward, we will have to show you that and get approval. But and most likely there's going to be some sort of privacy fence, because the property to the east and south are rental properties. That would also have to come back for you. But just going ahead and taking care of painted brick in case that is how we proceed now is just one less thing to worry about later.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions they would like to ask? I know we visited and revisited this project, but not with the plans, but I think we generally feel this is really good. Does anybody have anything they would like to say? Jack, are you still on? We lost Jack.
No, I'm back. I'm here.
You're back. I just
I'm
want to give
Jack back.
Yeah, I wanted to give everyone an opportunity to speak if they would like to. So if you don't have any questions about this, as I understand it, we are being asked to approve the plans as drawn with the drawing of the hand-drawn, which would be the windows in the hand drawing, not in the colored one that you gave us, that there might be a little railing on the front porch.
That's in the drawing.
Yes.
And that's in the drawing. And this is without consideration of the garage at this time. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the plans?
I move to approve.
You move to approve, and that would be without the garage, just with what's presented to us now. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone?
Aye.
Okay, anyone opposed? Then the motion pass.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So moved.
No one's gonna object.
Second.
The meeting, special meeting is now.
Sorry I'm so late. Nasty. Been putting fence posts in and gotta go back and do some more.